The coffee mug slipped from my hand when I saw them through the kitchen window. Not dropped, slipped. Like my brain had forgotten how to send signals to my fingers. Sarah and Jake, my wife of 8 years and my best friend since college, standing too close in our backyard, his hand on her lower back, her laugh, the one she used to save for me. I'd come home early from the construction site, covered in dust and sweat, planning to surprise her with takeout from that Italian place she loved. Instead, I got the surprise of my life. They didn't see me watching from the shadows of our kitchen. Why would they? I was supposed to be hammering nails until 6. The coffee spread across the tile floor like dark truth seeping into every crack. I didn't clean it up. I just stood there, watching my marriage dissolve through a pane of glass. "Hey, you're home early," Sarah called out when they finally came inside. Her cheeks flushed. Jake avoided my eyes completely. Guilt has a way of making cowards of even the strongest men. "Finished the job ahead of schedule," I said, voice steady as bedrock. "Jake, staying for dinner?" His throat worked like he was swallowing broken glass. "Actually, I should get going. Early meeting tomorrow." After he left, Sarah hummed while making dinner. Hummed, like she hadn't just been in another man's arms in our own backyard. That's when I knew this wasn't some innocent moment I'd misread. This was routine for them. That night, lying in bed next to her, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. I wasn't going to be the fool who screamed and threw accusations. I was going to be smart about this, patient, because men like Jake only win when the husband plays the victim. And I had no intention of playing victim. The next 3 days were an education in deception. I started paying attention, really paying attention, to the patterns I'd been too trusting to notice before. Sarah's Tuesday yoga classes that ran mysteriously long. Jake's sudden interest in helping with our home renovation project. The way her phone was always face down now, like it was hiding something. I didn't turn into some paranoid detective, rifling through her purse or following her car. I didn't need to. When you've been married to someone for 8 years, you know their tells. The way she checked her reflection before running errands. The new perfume she claimed was a gift from her sister. The sister who, when I casually asked at a family barbecue, had no idea what I was talking about. But the real confirmation came Wednesday evening. Jake called, my phone, not hers, asking if I wanted to grab beers Friday night. "Just the guys," he said, voice too casual, too rehearsed, like he was establishing an alibi. "Actually," I said, "I was thinking of surprising Sarah with a weekend getaway. Haven't done that in a while." The silence on his end was deafening. Then, "Oh, that's great, man, really great." I could practically hear him texting her the moment we hung up. Sure enough, within 10 minutes, Sarah emerged from the bedroom looking concerned. "Honey, I just remembered I promised my mom I'd help her organize the garage this weekend. Rain check on the getaway?" Her mom, who lived in Arizona and hadn't needed help organizing anything since 1987. That's when I knew I wasn't dealing with a moment of weakness or a midlife crisis. This was a full-blown affair, complete with lies, alibis, and the kind of planning that takes time to develop. But here's what they didn't know. I was planning too. Friday arrived with all the anticipation of Christmas morning, except instead of presents under the tree, there were lies waiting to be unwrapped. Sarah kissed my cheek before I left for work, the same cheek peck she'd given me for months. The kind married people give when affection becomes obligation. "Have fun organizing with your mom," I said, watching her eyes for any flicker of guilt. Nothing. She'd gotten good at this. "Will do. Don't wait up if you and the guys get too wild." Except I wasn't meeting the guys. I was implementing what I like to call the education plan. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad, it's getting even in a way that teaches a lesson they'll never forget. I parked 3 blocks from Jake's apartment complex and waited. At 7:30, Sarah's car pulled into his visitor parking. She'd dressed up, hair done, makeup perfect, wearing the black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year, the one she claimed made her feel uncomfortable when I suggested she wear it to dinner. Apparently, it was comfortable enough for Jake. They disappeared into his building, probably thinking they were so clever with their secret romance. What they didn't know was that Jake's neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, was my client. I'd been renovating her kitchen for the past month, and she'd mentioned several times how that young man in 4B brings different ladies around at all hours. Mrs. Henderson was also the building's unofficial gossip coordinator. and she had a key to the community mailroom where all the residents' packages were delivered, including the package I'd had delivered to Jake's address that afternoon, the one addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Jake Morrison, Sarah's favorite takeout from that expensive sushi place downtown, along with a bottle of champagne and a card that read, "Congratulations on your new relationship, from your biggest fan." But here's the beautiful part. The package required a signature from the building manager, who would naturally assume Jake was married and living with his wife. Word travels fast in small apartment complexes, especially when Mrs. Henderson is involved. By morning, half the building would know Jake was married to a woman who wasn't there most nights. Phase 1, complete. Sarah came home Saturday morning glowing with the kind of satisfaction that should have come from her husband. "Not my best friend," she hummed in the shower, hummed like she was celebrating. I was sitting at the kitchen table, newspaper spread in front of me, coffee growing cold, waiting. "How was your night?" she asked, toweling her hair dry. "Quiet." "How was garage organizing?" "Exhausting. You know how Mom gets with her projects." I nodded slowly, then pulled out my phone and set it on the table. Her eyes flicked to it, then back to my face. "Jake called this morning," I said, voice steady as stone. "Seems there's been some confusion at his apartment complex." The color drained from her face like someone had pulled the plug. The building manager congratulated him on his marriage. Apparently, someone delivered a congratulatory package to Mr. and Mrs. Jake Morrison yesterday evening. Her lips parted, but no words came out, just silence, heavy as a lead blanket. I leaned forward. "Funny thing is, Jake swears he's single, has been for years. So who do you think Mrs. Morrison might be?" Sarah's hands trembled as she gripped the towel tighter. "Mark, I can explain." "No need," I interrupted. "Jake already explained everything when he called in a panic this morning. Seems half his building thinks he's been hiding a wife. His landlord is threatening to charge him extra for an unauthorized occupant. And his boss, who lives in the same complex, is confused about why Jake claimed to be single on his insurance forms." The beauty of it was the domino effect. One little package had unraveled their entire secret world, forcing them to deal with consequences in public, with witnesses, with professional implications. "It was one night," she whispered. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Sarah, I know about the Tuesday yoga classes. I know about the new perfume. I know about every lie you've told me for the past 2 months." Her tears started then, but they looked different than they used to, calculated, like she was trying to figure out which emotion would work best. "We can fix this," she said desperately. "No," I replied, standing. "We can't, because the lesson I'm teaching isn't about fixing. It's about consequences." The divorce papers were waiting on the kitchen counter when Sarah came home from work Monday evening, not hidden, not tucked away somewhere she might miss them, right there next to the fruit bowl, impossible to ignore. But that wasn't the lesson. That was just paperwork. The lesson was what came next. See, Jake worked in sales for a company that prided itself on family values and integrity. A company where his boss, Mr. Patterson, lived in Jake's apartment complex and had heard all about the mysterious Mrs. Morrison situation. The same Mr. Patterson who'd called Jake into his office that Monday to discuss the importance of honesty in both personal and professional relationships. Jake lost his promotion, not his job. I'm not vindictive, but the senior sales position he'd been working toward for 3 years. Because when you build a reputation on deception, people start questioning everything else about your character. Sarah learned that when you break trust, it shatters in every direction. Her mother, who actually did live in Arizona, called me directly after Sarah tried to use her as an alibi again. Turns out Sarah had been lying to her family too, claiming I was controlling and distant to justify her behavior. Her sister stopped speaking to her. Her best friend from college sent me a message apologizing for not warning me sooner about Sarah's complaints about our marriage, complaints that, she now realized, had been laying groundwork for justifying an affair. But the real lesson, the one that would stick with Sarah for the rest of her life, came 2 months later. I was having coffee at the diner downtown when she walked in, alone, looking tired in a way that new makeup couldn't hide. She saw me and hesitated, then walked over. "I heard about the house," she said quietly. "Congratulations." I'd bought a smaller place across town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Clean, honest. Thanks. She sat down without being invited. Jake and we're not together anymore. I nodded. I'd heard. Turned out their relationship only worked as a secret rebellion. When it became real, with real consequences, neither of them wanted what they thought they'd been fighting for. I miss you, she whispered. I looked at her, really looked, and saw something I'd never noticed before. She wasn't sad about losing me. She was sad about losing the version of herself that had been married to me, the version that was respectable, stable, envied by her friends. Sarah, I said gently, the lesson isn't that you lost me. The lesson is that you lost yourself first. I left her sitting there with that thought and a cup of coffee growing cold. Later, driving home to my small, honest house, I realized something profound. I hadn't taught her a lesson about betrayal or consequences or even about love. I taught her a lesson about choices. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to fight for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is teach them what it feels like when you stop fighting altogether. The lesson she'll remember for the rest of her life isn't about what she lost. It's about who she chose to become when she thought no one was paying attention. And now, everyone is.